time you probably were forced to watch drug rats. The hippies had a revival, tattoos started happening, body piercings started happening, we started writing policies at the hospital to say no tattoos, no body piercing, no that. The grunge look was in. If you were into video games, you did stuff like Donkey Kong and Super Mario Brothers, like the troll dolls if you were little. In healthcare, the costs were now double of what the rate of inflation was. And we tried another attempt to have universal healthcare and healthcare reform. It didn't work. We passed some laws. They weren't all enacted in the 90s, but we passed them. The American Disability Act, nutritional labeling, Ryan Act, safe medical devices, mammography quality, family medical leave. HIPAA was passed, not enacted yet, passed. And nurse-patient ratios passed, was not implemented yet. The Genome Project was launched, the first bad-blown heart transplant, the first cloned sheep. Assisted suicide with Dr. Orkin was a topic that we actually discussed in nursing courses. As the hospitals came, hospital lists were there. We started looking at sentinel events, and the Institute of Medicine published "To Err is Human." In the 90s, you saw the internet, but we had DSL, phone connections, not very fast. Hotmail came out, Amazon came out, mobile phones were getting bigger, we still had pagers. Columbine massacre was happening, and we had some bombings in that time too. Okay. What happened in the 90s in the Imperial Valley? Eddie Marks was the director of nurses at the IVC program. Kathy Berry started then also. I know Kathy's going to kill me. That's what she looked like in those days. She said, "Where did you get that picture?" The curriculum had to be changed to make sure we were keeping up with the technology. Technology was moving fast. Our curriculum had to move just as fast. They started increasing enrollments to meet the demand because once again, we were in a shortage. Where's the 2000 people? Anytime in 2000 till now. I see you guys. I know there's more of you. Okay, so I messed up with George Clooney, so I'm not even going to try these names, okay? But some of those faces, people in the 2000s should recognize. Rihanna, I know. Okay, they heard Coldplay. They heard Britney Spears singing some more. Or sometime that he came back. He did Smooth, I think. Pink started R.E.M., Justin Timberlake, Rihanna, Crazy in Love, Smooth. Independent Woman, Umbrella, Viva La Vida, Poker Face, Ella, Say It Right. You also watched the X-Men, The Gladiator, Castaway, Twilight started. There's too many of those. American Idol got started, Lord of the Rings was started, Pirates of the Caribbean, Breaking Bad started on TV. Can you imagine? Way back there. Friday Night Lights, The Sopranos, Lost. In the 2000s, they started going after vintage clothing. And if it wasn't vintage, then they ripped up the new ones, so they would look vintage. Daisy Dukes, Oaks, Bullshit, and they had baseball caps. This time period from 2000 to 2009 saw Wikipedia, YouTube, iPod, iPhone, Web 2, Facebook, Twitter, and the DVD was in, and the VCRs were long gone. We played games, we played Legend of Zelda. In the healthcare side, we had SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, avian flu, bird flu, MRSA. CMS was in, it was out. The laws, some of them were implemented. The Nurse Reinvestment Act, they were trying to get more nurses. Again, not enough nurses, so they actually passed an act. HIPAA was now implemented and enforced. the Medicare Prescription Act passed, the Homeland Security Act passed, the nurse-patient ratios began. 1:6, later 1:5. Needle Stick Act was passed, deficit reduction and its changes for Medicaid, and the Patient Bill of Rights was expanded. The Genome Project finished. More than 20,000 genes have been identified, the DNA from the genes. We found out, we all read it, that anybody was here between 1999 and at midnight and 2000 at 1 minute after midnight. We prepared for weeks because we knew at Y2K would be a complete technology meltdown. So we stayed up for hours, worked a long time, and nothing happened. So at 1:30 we all went home. We saw 9/11. AOL merged with Time Warner. There was a .com bust. We invaded Iraq. There was the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster. Obama was elected, and we've had anthrax incidents. So that was going on in our world. In the 2000s, what was happening here in the valley? Kathy Berry's still there. Dee Pollock is there too. I gotta say, Dee's one of our most photogenic people. But you can't take a bad picture. Dee was responsible for increasing the GPA requirement to get into the program. And that has made, it's been hard, but it's been a big help for the success of the students. During the 2000s, we took the DN program out of the RN program. And most recently, they started a complete change in curriculum under Susan Imperial to the concept-based curriculum, which was a major undertaking for them. It took them the whole summer to get that done. I just kind of wanted to bring everyone through our history as fast as I could, and I'm looking for Todd. There's Todd. Todd Evangelist is from the IVC Foundation, and it was from the foundation that we were able to have such an event tonight for you. And I want you to know they have been key to having the success of students through the scholarship program. So I want to introduce Todd Evangelist.
Thank you, Tina. It's kind of close because, I don't know about you guys, but as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at folks like Dean McGarry here, who, in your career, gosh, you save lives. And now, you at college here, you're changing lives. What better of a vocation could you possibly choose than to change lives and save lives, all built into one? Boy, thank you to you and all of those who do that here tonight. Speaking of changing lives and doing those things and saving them, our sponsors tonight are great at doing that. Pioneers Memorial Healthcare District and California Health and Wellness as well certainly are to be thanked and appreciated for making tonight as possible. But one of the things that I heard coming up to tonight, we get this phone call a lot as I'm bumping even here to people tonight. One of the questions is, when are we doing this again? And make sure to invite me. And so we have that answer for you. If you could, make sure to, or at least we'll be able to invite you, make sure on your tables in a little cup there is a little card that says, keep me updated. And we would really enjoy it if you could fill that out. Everybody in the room, whether you're a nurse or not, or saving lives or changing lives or not, even if you're just a guy like me, fill it out. And we would really appreciate to be able to keep you up to date on things in the future. And then the other thing, Tina, that I hear tonight is stories after stories about their time at IVC and maybe their time in the hospital, just wonderful times. And so on that back, can you do me a favor? On that back it says, my favorite IVC experience and story. I want to hear it, we want to hear it, we want to tell it. So do us a favor and maybe, I know, Tina, you probably need 2 cards. So at your table, you can grab somebody else's and fill it all out for both of you.
Mine's going to be about Jim Finley.
Okay, Jim Finley, yeah. Yeah, maybe here's what we'll do. we'll give a Starbucks gift card or something to the professor who has the most references in their stories. So he has that. But so if you could do that for us tonight, we would really appreciate it. We're so thankful of all of you being here tonight, and Tina, we're so thankful for the nursing department. I guess we'll have opportunities to do that throughout the night, but I'm going to stop without being able to have all of us say thank you to IVC and their nursing department for all that they've done these past 40 years. And you can use these cute little pins. Aren't these the funniest things on your table? So feel free to use those. Don't let that down.
Those pins are kind of like nurse humor, you know, it looks like a syringe full of blood. Only nurses would think those were, you know, kind of cute. Again, the foundation has been critical for the survival of many of our nursing students. On the earlier slides going through, you saw where there were scholarships. Those are absolutely critical because the nursing program, when it got started in 1973, it only cost $400 to $600 for a student to complete the RN program. It's now over $6,000 to finish the RN program. And that's at a community college, and that's only the nursing program. So that's why scholarships are critical. But the next person I get to introduce is a person that I see now in Costco, because that's where I get to see Kay. But Kay Dalby was part of the original 1973 graduate class. She worked at Health Central for a few years. Like I said, you may see her cruising Costco, so Kay, please come up.
They didn't like this one, but I love mine, so I'm donating it to the college so they can have it with their memorabilia that this was only the first class board. Okay? Can you hear me? I'm very short. It was a very good way to make contact with patients because the heart was so unusual. So every time I walked into a room to the patient and they would say, "Oh, I love your heart. Where did you go to school?" You know, and that kind of started conversation with the patients, and I thought that was a good way of breaking the ice. So it was a therapeutic tool for me in those days. I'm at the age now that I can't see without glasses, and I cannot see with glasses, and I cannot see without glasses. So yes, so I'm taking my glasses off, but I can't see you back there. Anyway, I want to say a big hello to all of the graduates of the IVC and of the nursing program, and a very special greeting, of course, to the graduates of the first class of 1973, of which I have the pleasure to be amongst them, and the honor. It is a great honor for me to be asked. I don't know why guys picked on me, but to talk and reminisce about how we started the program 40 years ago. I can't believe it's 40 years ago. It is so long. When they asked me to do this, I had to go and really think, 40 years ago, you know, who were they? Tina gave you the instructors we have, and each one of us, they were, Tina told me there were 38, but in the end, we were 29 graduated one of them was Tom Neal started with us, but he dropped out and graduated, I believe, the next year. So there were 29 of us who graduated in 1973. The program began, we were strangers. Actually, each one of us has a story to tell about how they got to be in the program. And my story began in 1969. If you wonder about my accent, I'm Greek. And I was on the island of Cyprus. My father had surgery in '69. And my husband came over to spend the Christmas holidays with us and told me that, okay, says, you won't have to go to San Diego to school because there will be a nursing program starting at IVC in 1971. So I was very delighted. So when I came back in February to the Valley, by the way, it was my first time in the Valley. It was, like Tina said, Vietnam time. There were a lot of veterans out. It was not easy for teachers to find work. My husband was a teacher. He found a job in El Centro. He was here the summer of '69, but he was smart enough not to tell me what the summer was. So when I came in February, I thought it was so nice. The weather was so wonderful. And it wasn't until the summer of 1970 when I started, and I believe I saw the lady who's a counselor there in 1970 when I was inquiring for the nursing program. And I took an archaeology class. I don't know if you remember it. We had a Dr. Barker who was teaching archaeology at the college, and he was taking us out to the desert by the Navy base, and it was so hot, and I was not used to the heat, and I was going to pass out. So I went to him and I said, I'm sorry, I said, but I got to drop out.